Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Phase 2 Maxim Product Introduction by Controlled Product Systems Group. Give everybody here a couple minutes to get loaded on and in full attendance, and then we'll get started. So bear with us just for a moment. Appreciate everybody taking a moment out of their day to learn about the new Maxim Phase 2 product launches. We'll get started here in just a second. Thank you. All right, just a heads up that this webinar is going to be recorded. In normal practice, CPSG will always provide webinar links and videos on YouTube, on our CPSGU online platform. And so we want to make sure that we have access to that later on. So just so that everybody knows there is recording in progress. We'll go and get started off here. My name is Louis Guido. I am the product manager for Control Product Systems Group in the residential commercial door products lines. I've been with CPSG since about in late 2015 and really enjoyed my time here. It's a great company. We really try to be a one-stop solution for all residential commercial door products, as well as gate operators, access control, a lot of other really good stuff, RFID in there. If you haven't had a chance to be on these webinars before, we really appreciate you taking the time today. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. I do want to take a moment and make sure if you do have any questions, please join in on the Q&A. We'll try to address those as well with counterpart here, Zach. We'll be fielding some of those Q&As as well as some other panelists that are on the call. Let's get started here. And so what are we here today? We are going to be learning about Maxum Phase 2. That is some new models that are coming out. Before we get into that, I want to take a moment and talk about the current models available, where we are at with Maxum, where the development from LiftMaster is currently, and more importantly, what we have learned in the last year since launch last February. Then we'll dive into the new models, the RJDC, the extended shaft sizes, as well as the new long-awaited 2,200-pound rated operators. We'll talk a little bit about the NEMA 4X models that will be coming out later in the year as well, and then we'll open it up for a little bit of a Q&A session where we'll address any questions that come into the call here. All right, so Maxum came to fruition back in February of last year. It was a long time that LiftMaster had asked dealers, installers, integrators, end users, everybody, and really trying to figure out what the next flagship operator for LiftMaster was going to be. They asked all these questions and surveys and fielded all these different responses to be able to determine what feature sets people were asking for. As you can see, we have what is new in Maxum, what was kind of missing, or a feature set that was requested in Logic 5. The biggest thing was just the weight in general. By going to the DC motors, they've really enabled the operator to be a lot lighter, makes for a much easier installation. A lot of times you can get by with one person. Granted, I would still want to have a scissor lift or something like that, but it does make it easier to be able to install with one person just by the weight being better. The center of gravity is a lot better. If you've ever installed one, it has a lot less tendency to fall off the wall. There's a lot of really good stuff there. The next thing that people were asking for quite often was just speed in general. The Logic 5, when it was properly geared, would be somewhere between 6 and 8 inches per second. Now with the new Maxim line, we can get a lot faster than that, 12 inches per second. You do have the option still to be able to slow it down if you need to, and in some cases you might be able to get a little bit faster than that. But a 12-inch sweet spot is a good spot to aim for. The next thing was being able to make sure that we had the embedded connectivity. So with the Wi-Fi chips integrated into the Maxim control boards, we have the ability now to easily establish to MyQ residential app, as well as the MyQ facility software suite that I'll touch on here in a little bit. The next thing was for the installers, making sure that we had the proper resources and being able to get that first install done quickly. So if you're not familiar with the Built app, I would highly encourage you to search Maxum on Built and find those. It does a really good job in 3D rendering of being able to get installed, get the operator installed quickly and efficiently and on to the next job. The next things had to do with, the LCD wall control. One of the greatest features about Maxum is that floor level diagnostics and being able to really know what is going on with the unit, not only from a programming standpoint with the limits, but being able to troubleshoot and do diagnostics. If you got a photo eye out of alignment, all that kind of stuff is done right there on the LCD wall control display. With the DC motors, they're a lot quieter. If you have anybody on this call has ran one of these Maxums next to an Logic 5, it doesn't take a decibel meter to realize that they are a lot quieter and a lot less jarring to the doors. Battery backup was something that was frequently asked for. So thinking about, ambulance bays, firehouses, places that need 100% uptime reliability, that battery backup as an additional, accessory to install is a really nice feature. There's a slew of SKUs is the word that I used a lot with Logic 5, and that is that there was a lot of different handings, a lot of different model SKUs that you had to really dial down into to be able to get it. Now all the JHDC operators are all dual-handed, very easy to do, about 5-10 minutes in the field, and you can swap from a right hand to a left hand very quickly and easily. Cycle counters being included was another feature that is now built into that wall control. Makes it really easy to know when you're getting close to, needing service, whether it be for springs or, just a normal lube and tune or something like that. Everybody on this call that's in a sales function has probably gotten caught with the, adding additional monitor devices. And now one of the nice parts about Maxum in general is that you have 3 monitor inputs included. You have the option as well to have a 4th wireless edge link put into that operator. So it makes it really easy to not have to remember all the additional parts and service components and stuff like that when you're speccing and selling a job. One of the other things that you may have had to always do in the past was increase the transformer output. So if you were adding light curtains and a red light, green light, and a lot of those common accessories, especially for firehouse installs or something, you were always having to get additional power supplies or something to power the devices. Now the Maxums have a lot more power available to them. It makes it a lot easier not to have those extra components. They also redesigned how the power board, in a sense, they removed it, and now there's no, external relay packs and stuff like that that are just more components that could have failure. So it made it a lot more streamlined from a service perspective, as well as keeping those features that everybody was looking for. So again, just to kind of summarize this for a second, the real thing that they did was they made the installation a lot easier. They made it lighter, especially in the JHDC from the old J50 or H50 models. They had that full language programming and the LCD wall control. It makes it really easy to know what you're after, to know what the feedback is from the operator, as well as being able to commission a unit. Just makes it a lot quicker. The multiple monitor inputs, more power, all that kind of good stuff. There's a lot of other features. If you are interested in more of the line of Maxum, there's some previous webinars that we've done that'll dive more into the new components and boards and stuff like that. But if you're interested, then I highly would recommend checking out that previous webinar that we've done. The next kind of aspect that LiftMaster was looking at with Maxum is the ability to get better and quicker service as far as on the dispatch side of things. So again, we've talked about the diagnostics controls. There's no more flipping through a manual and trying to count MAS lights and trying to figure out where, are the photo eyes out of alignment? Is it an RPM issue? Is it a power issue? And trying to count all those lights. Now you're just reading diagnostics on the floor level. If there's something like a stall error because the springs broke, it's going to say it right there. If the eyes are blocked, it's going to say eyes blocked. It makes it really easy to troubleshoot, especially to an end user over the phone at, let's just be honest, 2 in the morning or whenever they need to get that door closed. It just makes it a lot easier. Again, with the cycle counts being built into the wall control, you have that ability to monitor and know where that door is on its cycle count in relation to the spring life. Maybe the next time you need to get out there and do a loop and tune on the rollers and that kind of stuff. It just makes it easy to add it to the reports when it's right there. When you look at the Maxum units, there's a lot of modular design in there, in that a lot of the parts are cross compatible with other models, and it makes so all the boards, are the same. Uh, transformers vary a little bit on the weight rating, but it makes it pretty easy to say we need to stock these 3 or 4 common parts, and we can service 95% of the Maxum operators out there. So from a stocking and distribution service, stocking and distribution, as well as being able to get out there with the right part the first time, it makes it a lot less complex. I'll touch base a little bit on the MyQ facility. That's not what this presentation is really about, but what I want to enable people to understand, if you're not using the MyQ facility at this point in time, there's a lot of really good features in it, from both a service and repair company all the way down to the facility manager that might be watching these doors go up and down with a stopwatch or something like that. You have the ability to know how long a door was open, how long it's been closed, any of the diagnostic reports, and this is all done through the MyQ facility web interface at this point in time. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen here is a general facility layout that shows, with color coding, which ones may be stopped, which ones are in motion. It makes it really easy for somebody to get a great overview of their entire facility, whether it be door operators, gate operators, the new, Techna, any of those LiftMaster operators. One of the nice features that was just recently announced, I believe it was March 1st, was that MyQ facility for Maxum, as well as old Logic 5s using the internet gateway, as well as Techna and some of the other gate operators, can now be entered into the MyQ facility with no charge. There is some components that still have a charge with them, but that gets more into docks and detention times and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, I would highly encourage you to reach out to your branch, reach out to me, and we can really dive into a site if you think there's a good fit. I really encourage people to get onto this system. It allows you, in a nutshell, to be able to get emails when cycle counts are hitting, when there's force alerts. You can actually get an email to your dispatch. If nothing else, I want you to take that away from this conversation. All right, so the current models available in a summary kind of form. The 700 and 1200 pound rated JHDC, and TDCs have all been released into the lineup. Many of you have probably purchased them over the last year. Some of you maybe are kind of holding out, but these are the operators that are currently available in the new flagship line. So this encompasses, again, jack shafts, hoists, trolleys, and the 1/2 and 3/4 horsepower equivalents to Logic 5. A lot of the good things that we've learned over the last year in reference to Maxum. Some key takeaways is make sure you look at order guides, make sure you understand the process both from a sales and installation perspective. I fielded a lot of calls in the first few months of Maxum. My biggest takeaways are use the brackets that are designed for Maxum. So when they changed the mounting bolt pattern on the Maxums for the side mount operators, they went to 7-inch on center. So this allowed people to be able to use perforated angle and not have to drill out. Makes the install a lot cleaner, a lot quicker, and makes it a more streamlined process. Now, with that being said, in a retrofit application, you did have to either re-anchor or drill out, or you could use something like the hoist mount mod DC to be able to adapt from that old stud pattern to the new Maxums. Again, in a front of hood mount installation, front of coil, shelf, however you want to say it, that FOH MODDC bracket pictured makes a world of difference to be able to get it installed quickly and properly the first time. So, those two brackets in of itself can save you a lot of headache and a lot of learning in the field. One of the other things that we talked about, or it was pretty evident from the beginning of the launch, was that the JDC did not have a manual disconnect. This was a feature that was asked of LiftMaster right out of the gate. They have made some the new model RJDC that I'll cover here in a second, and it shows what LiftMaster learned, what they've redesigned, and now we have a solution for that issue at the time. Battery backup is great. I don't see a lot of it being used. However, the people that do use it really like it. It gives that, that warm fuzzy feeling to all your install, facility users and stuff like that, to be able to know, hey, when I press the open button, it doesn't matter if the power is out, if the snow's flying, if the rain's coming down, that operator is going to move up and down with that battery backup. For what the accessory cost, I would highly encourage it to be used in most applications, and there's a lot of great reasons for it. Another thing that I really want to take away for a second is that when we're talking about sprockets, there's a lot of times when people would use the old Logic 5 sprocket on a new Maxim operator. Because of how the Maxim units are engineered, and we're really wanting to get that proper speed, the full speed possibility, we want to make sure that we're using the proper sprocket. So at the current launch models right now is typically 32 teeth for sectional door and 72 teeth for a rolling steel. Now, if it is a rolling steel and it's a smaller, smaller barrel or whatnot, there is times when you can get by with a 50 or 62 sprocket, but there are some really helpful order guides that are in place at this point if you're looking at that. There is a new chain tensioner part number that a lot of people will get tripped up on the first time. So the new chain tensioners actually, I got to give kudos to the engineers that designed this, but instead of it mounting onto the shaft, it actually mounts onto the frame, which allows a lot less torque force and a lot less, pressure put onto the shaft, a lot less likely to cause seals leaking and gearboxes failing prematurely. So all I'm really trying to get at is, if you've got a Maxim operator, make sure that you're using the new chain tensioner. There was also a little bit of confusion on the 480 voltage, or the 4 model, if you will. And really what I want to make sure that people understand is that for all voltages other than 480, you're going to be using one model, and then for 480, you're going to be using the 4. Now, there's some caveats to that with 208 and some other stuff that I'm not going to get into on this presentation. Again, I would recommend checking out some other documentation or some other webinars that we've done. The most common accessory that we are selling besides the brackets is going to be the aux rail. This is because there's no mechanical limits in a Maxim anymore. We want to make sure that we have the ability to output to red light, green lights, alarm shunts, open close signals in general, and that's going to be done with the aux rail card. Throughout the year, there's been a lot of updates to the unit, and not only, when you connect to Wi-Fi, are you able to get to that MyQ facility? Are you able to get to, being able to control it off of an app on your phone? But you're also going to ensure and future-proof that operator to be able to download the latest firmwares from LiftMaster, being able to get those diagnostics if they need them, if we need to get to them. And getting connected to Wi-Fi is pretty important to the whole process of Maxim. Now, I'll tell you, it's not required by any means, but there is times when it helps to have Wi-Fi if you're running into particular issues. I have included a QR code of how to actually connect to Wi-Fi on a Maxim unit. So if you are looking at this on a recording, I would encourage you to scan that QR code. It'll walk you through the process in 2 or 3 minutes of how to actually get it connected to Wi-Fi. But it's a pretty good overview on it. Just again with all these features that I've been talking about with the Maxim Phase 1 launch, you've got the dual handing flexibility with the JHDC. It's about a 5-minute swap from right hand to left hand. Talked a little bit about the streamlined wiring. Once you get into these boards, all you really need is some wire strippers. You don't looking for any screws or worrying about stripping out anything. If you over tighten, it's just a stab and push type terminal. Makes it really easy and very resilient to vibrations. We have the remote monitoring availability through the MyQ facility, as well as being able to get it onto some of the app control. We get a lot of good diagnostics. We get real-time alerts. We can know cycle counts. There's a lot of really cool stuff in that MyQ facility. Again, when we're looking at doing service calls after the fact, force alerts, stuck eyes, things of that nature, it makes it really easy to remotely diagnose an operator and get a one truck roll, one fix type scenario, which, is not only great for your company, but great for the facility owner as well. The floor level LCD display. Now we know, what's actually going on, programming, all that stuff is there in plain readable language. We talked about the battery and the lightweight design as well. So a lot of really nice features on Maxum in general. With the new addition of the phase 2 operators that we'll start talking about here in a few minutes, you're going to understand, why this is the flagship for LiftMaster, why this is the industry going forward, why it's the operator that people are really going to be asking for once they get used to it and understand how much time and money that it can save themselves, both from the install and the service perspective. We got a quick video here that I'll go ahead and play that kind of summarizes what I've talked about, and go from there. All right, let's get into the new stuff now instead of talking about the old stuff. Let's talk about what is being integrated into the line as of a couple of days ago. What's available for purchase now? The biggest thing that people were asking for again was that release mechanism on a J model operator. So now we have the RJDC, the release jack shaft operator. There's 4 new SKUs that we're putting into the lineup here, and being able to really drive home that LiftMaster LiftMaster redesigned and is adding to the operator lineup. One thing that's worth noting here on this new operator, you can see it pictured on the left-hand side. The handing is going to follow the release mechanism side. So in this case, this is a left-hand operator. So this would be like the 7S1 BEL or the 7S4 BEL. You can notice that the release is on the left. The drive output will be on the right-hand side on that operator. They are all by default coming with a 3-inch protruding shaft on the operator. I have a quick link that you can look at later on or whatnot on how to actually change the handing, but it's a field swappable process that takes about 10 minutes. So if you do, from a stocking perspective, CPSG is going to go with more of the right hands in stock. But if you do have an application where you need to swap the release over to the left hand, it's a really easy process, basic hand tools. You basically flip the gearbox around and you'll be able to be ready to go. These are only rated for 700-pound doors. They'll use the same sprockets, so 32 on a sectional, 72 or so on a rolling steel. But it's a really cool design. I have a quick video later on that'll show some of the testing that was done on the RJDC before launch to make sure everybody understands that there was research, there was development, and there was testing before just throwing this operator out to the masses. Pretty excited about this. It definitely fills the product gap that people have been asking about. How to repair a bottom section without having to disconnect the torsion line, being able to have that serviceability to make sure, if there's something that happens, you can pull that release. Now, one thing that's worth noting here on the RJDC is that it is battery backup optional, whereas the JDC operator that's still going to be available will come with the battery backup with no release. This comes with no battery backup, but it has the release. Very similar in pricing to the 2 units. We won't cover too much of the pricing in general on this presentation, but please reach out if you have any questions and want to get a quote from CPSG. Really excited about this operator. It's going to really help round out the Maxum line and being able to provide what our customers are asking for. The next thing that LiftMaster did was make the extended shaft in some other models. So you can see on that left-hand picture, that was the typical what's existing now, short shaft, 2-inch shaft. You can see on that picture on the right-hand side where they've added the extra inch. Now there's a 3-inch protrusion for that. What this really boils down to is in a lot of retrofit applications, the standard was 3 inches, and this is going to make it much easier to be able to link up with the torsion chain and the drive chain to that torsion shaft instead of having to, finagle the operator closer to the vertical tracks or something like that. It's something that was asked about. Now, I will also say that, the 2-inch shaft is something that a lot of people have learned to work around in the last year and being able to make it, functional. The shaft was designed shorter for a couple of reasons, mainly being with the bearings and the seals and the gearboxes. When you have that lever, 3 inches away versus just a couple inches away, there's a lot more chance for, vertical and lateral forces on that shaft to break things. However, the engineering has done well and they've made this 3 inches now. They'll be rolling this out to the 1,200 horse or 1,200-pound rated operator in the near future, but for right now, it's only available in the 700-pound models as well as the 2,200 pounds. So once we kind of flush some more stuff out, we'll have a lot more. They'll basically move to the 3-inch shaft from LiftMaster once the stock is depleted. So again, the standard on RJDCs. Optional for the JDC and the JHDC 7s. 12s will be coming sometime here in the near future. You notice that all of these do have the E designator as in the suffix of the model SKU, which is an easy way to be able to figure out that it does have that extended shaft. All right, so the next operator lineup that is being released here is the 2,200-pound rated operator. These are our big beasts of doors, or train doors, or big rolling steels, maybe some wind load rated and that kind of stuff over in the southeast. But there is a good there's a lot of these operators that have been needing this weight rating, and until now we haven't had anything in the Maxum line. They are all going to have the 3-inch shaft coming off of the operator. Again, this is comparable to a 1.5 or 1 horsepower Logic 5. So think about our, GTs now becoming the TDCs. If we had a, GH 101, 103, these are, GH 151, GH 153. These are going to be what turns into the JHDC 22Xs. These are all going to be extended duty, so you don't have the option of getting a standard duty operator in the 2,200-pound rating. They all are featuring a mechanical brake. So if you're familiar with the Maxum line at this point, you know that the JHDC 7 and 12s, as well as the TDC 7 and 12s, don't have an actual mechanical brake. I promise you, if you can back grind a 40-to-1 gearbox, you've got some pretty good muscle, and you've eaten your Wheaties for that morning. So just know that on these new ones, because of the extra load, the extra force of the door, they are going to have that mechanical brake included in the operator design. The other thing that's worth noting here is they did change the output sprocket teeth on the 22 to help with some retrofit applications where there's a potential where you couldn't have as large of a sprocket on that rolling steel door. So by going down to the 10 tooth and the 16 or 10 tooth on the JHDC 22, you're going to be able to get by easier with a 50 or 62 sprocket. Now, I'll still recommend, as well as a LiftMaster recommending, put the larger sprocket if you have the ability to do. But in a retrofit where you don't have the option, at least you've got that gear ratio happening where it's going to be moving a little bit slower. You're going to be able to make that door not fly up and down. They also changed on the TDC onto a 16-tooth sprocket for that operator for the output on the trolley, which will help slow that big door down as well. One thing that's worth mentioning here is that the JHDC versus the 22 versus the 7 and 12. It is longer on the JHDC 22. And so there's a little bit different of how you get an approach to be able to mount it. Same idea, still has key slots, still has the ability to anchor down. But if you're looking at, existing patterns and stuff like that, make sure we're getting the right brackets for it. All right, so models still yet to come. There's been a lot of questions right now on car wash, damp environment, NEMA 4X operators. They are all still available in Logic 5 at this point. So if you needed a CT or you needed an N4GH or any of those operators, they are still available in Logic 5. They'll run them concurrently when they do release them. At this point, it's sometime Q3, Q4 of this year. That might get delayed out a little bit more, but that's a reasonable estimate at this point in time of when we can expect the NEMA 4X models to come. There will be a new wall control design that makes it weather tight, unlike the one that's currently in place right now. The operators will look probably very similar, but some better gaskets and stuff like that as far as on the covers and that kind of thing. But the biggest change is going to be that new wall control when it comes out. So again, if you have a car wash, you have a damp environment, you need an N4X machine, something like that. Logic 5 is still the go-to operator right now. Once they come out with the N4X model later this year, we'll be able to transition the entire family over to Maxum. There's been a lot of different things in the marketplace regarding Maxum. I'll tell you from my experience in helping dealers solve through problems and get solutions to things that they've looked for. Since September of 2024, Maxum line firmware, operators, builds, everything have been really, really solid. And I encourage, anybody that may have tried in the beginning of, February or March of last year that may have had a less than stellar experience, I would highly encourage you to give Maxum another shot. There's a lot of features, there's a lot of benefits to going to something that's a smart door operator, and being able to program it easier, being able to mount it easier. There's a lot of really good things. Now, LiftMaster has always taken the stance that we're going to test things, and the next couple slides that I've got here are really showing what LiftMaster has done to make sure that the current models, the next models are resilient and actually last out in the field. It's also worth mentioning that LiftMaster had increased their warranty to 5-year limited on all Maxum units. So, when it first was originally launched, it was not at the 5-year. Now it is. They're standing behind their product. We're standing behind our customers at CPSG, and we want to make sure that you have the confidence that that if there is an issue, you have the resources to be able to get those corrected quickly and timely. This is a video of the RJDC operator. This is something that they're testing out to make sure that the release mechanism works well. And you can kind of see their setup just going up and down all day, all night for weeks on end, and being able to make sure that these releases are going to work well once they're installed. Again, I just really want to make sure that you understand, this is something that LiftMaster has been testing, that they've been making sure that is going to work well for the field once they are in your hands and installed. There's also been a lot of questions on, the wall control itself. It gets brought up to me. Some people think that the design, the buttons, things of that nature. And so again, this next video just kind of really shows what LiftMaster is doing to make sure that these buttons are resilient to the 200,000 cycle test. So just real quick. So again, this is something that I want people to understand that we're testing, or that LiftMaster is testing them, that we feel strongly behind this product launch. Things are developed well, firmwares are solid. Give Maxum a real, first try, or maybe even a second try at this point, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised with how the install goes, with how the customer feedback is, and the whole install in general. Um, Before we get to what I'm going to call the Q&A, and I don't have a way to be able to really see where we're at on the Q&A, if there's questions in place at this point or not, but I kind of want to take a couple of minutes and let everybody on this call know what CPSG does to support you as a dealer, as the installer. Um, there's a lot of helpful one-page product order guides that I've created, our teams have created, to help streamline the order process. This comes, from what listed accessories, what model, based off of weight rating, what kind of voltage requirements. So it should make it to where, you can go in to a job walk, look at this sheet, in one or two pages, and be able to get the right operator out, and quoted properly relatively quickly. CPSG has 33 different locations throughout the nation. What I really want to stress here is, you may be in the Tampa location, you may be in one of our Californias, maybe Salt Lake City. We all have neighboring branches. We all are working the regional. We all work as one inventory. And so if there is a case where, maybe we need to get an extra set of photo eyes, or, some kind of edge, or whatever it may be, there's a really good chance that one of those 33 locations are going to have it, and they're going to be able to get it shipped out to you if it's required overnight, whatever it may be, that you need to get that job up and running. Now, this isn't just for Maxim line. This is for all inventory, gate operators, access control, as well as door products, hardware, all that kind of good stuff. We always try to make sure that we give the proper communication for new developments. There's been a lot of talks lately in regard to the political environment, and we really want to make sure that we're communicating accurate developments whenever that happens, whether that's with product launches, support things that we may need to address, or things of that nature. If you have never checked out the CPSGU online training platform from Controlled Products, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's a wealth of information. Webinars like this will be posted on there, as well as some really good step-by-step guided training on guide operators, access control, a lot of the products that we sell. So if you're looking at branching out from doors to something else, please check out the CPSU online training platform. It's a really cool system, and an industry first. So we also are putting a lot of effort into our roadshow this year. So I want to make a call out to that on the ProTech Academy. You can see a flyer there on the left-hand side of the screen with some dates there. We're going to be going around the country with some of our access control and gate operator product managers, and really diving in on a hands-on approach to, getting that first cap system connected online, or maybe getting Wi-Fi to a unit, as well as some gate operator training as well. We have technical support available from 7:30 Eastern to 4:30 Pacific time. There's a good chance that those are going to be within your working hours. And so if you do have questions, you do need support, whether it's from a sales function, or, perhaps an actual, technical problem in the field, give us a holler. We're always happy to support our dealer network. One of the things that I had done a lot of last year was technical training on Maxum operators in general. This is it was a 5 to 6 hour course. I'm sure that there's probably some people on this call that had gone through that training with me, but it's a really hands-on approach of taking a Maxum operator out of a box and programming it, getting limits tested, getting all the accessories hooked up, whether that be the auxiliary relay card, red light, green lights, some work with edges, signaling outputs, as well as some, some troubleshooting and best install practices are gone over on that. So look for more of those this year. If you're interested in that, there's a chance that I'll be visiting a branch near you, or one of my teammates will be as well, and we'll be able to really get that hands-on technical training that your technicians are looking for. Things like this with our support webinars, and being able to bring information to the marketplace as necessary. We also have a lot of really smart people as far as our product experts, everything like I said, from gates, access, door, myself. And we really try to be a one-stop solution. So if you're trying to figure out how to get something like Maxum into another access control system, or maybe trying to get a CapEx M hooked up in a parking garage with the RFID, something like that, we have product team members that are more than happy to help with that solution and that integration guidance to really make sure that you're taking a full shot at the estimate to your company, or to your end users. That kind of really sums up what I wanted to talk about today. After this webinar, we'll be providing some resource guides as far as Maxum order guides, sprocket guides, as well as a link to this presentation for future colleagues and people that if they want to watch it, or maybe check out those QR codes or something like that. I think we've got a couple questions in the Q&A. Zach, do you want to read them off, or do you want me to?
Yep, I can read them off, and we should let everybody know we've got Eric Rivera, the product manager for LiftMaster on commercial door operators, here to help us answer questions. He's been answering some of those Q&A questions through the chat feature as well. So a couple open ones, and then maybe we'll readdress some of the questions that Eric has already answered. But this one probably for Eric. Edward asked, with regard to the N4X models to come, will nickel-plated chain be provided?
Hey guys, this is Eric Rivera. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm at a trade show here, but stepped away to help answer some questions. Lewis, can you hear me all right? Zach?
We've got you, Eric, loud and clear.
Perfect. All right, great. Yeah, so that question from Edward's a good one. I saw there was another one in the chat, also curious on that question. So that's part of we've been calling it phase 3 internally, the NEMA 4X, or the environmental protection modifications to the existing Maxum line. So that is still being determined. Most likely, yes. Most likely we will be standardizing on NEMA 4X, and it will include that corrosion resistant chain. Now, whatever material that might be nickel plated, might be something different, but it will be corrosion resistant. That is the intent and the plan at this time. That's correct. I saw there was another question on the from a sales standpoint. We only need to know if the door is sectional or rolling to figure out which sprocket we need. So I know that Lewis had mentioned that if you want to stock a certain sprocket and you just want to stock one for each, the 32 tooth for sectional and the 72 for rolling is a safe bet. If you want to dial it in more than that, if speed is more important to your customer and they want a little faster door, they can definitely dial it in. In that case, we look at the drum size, kind of combined with the door weight. So again, we have tables to help with that, and it sounds more complicated than it is. Again, once you do one or two selections, it'll be I think very clear to you. You'll have a good idea what you're looking for. But yeah, it's broken out by drum diameter on that door. Again, if you're not sure on the drum diameter or you can't get that information easily, just going with the 32 tooth on sectional and 72 on the rolling door, you should be good for majority of your situations that you're going to need a sprocket for.
Excellent. Eric, there was a couple questions on force adjustments on the new Maxum. Is that something you could cover just in general? How are force adjustments made to this operator?
Sure, absolutely. That's a good question around. And I think a couple things that this touches on. So first is Maxum has the capability to be connected, right? So, which is a really great bonus that allows us to do things like firmware updates if your unit is connected. If it's not, or if it's difficult to get to Wi-Fi, or you have a customer that doesn't want to connect, we have ways around that. We're actually working on a dealer app right now to help with those situations where it'll be Bluetooth mobile app type thing to make that process easier. But the point being, there are some older versions of firmware where the force handling is slightly different than what we've made it into be. So the latest versions, as of firmware 1.0, it's a much better handling of force issues or overforce situations. Some of the feedback we were getting early on was, hey, it's a little too finicky. There's times when it's stalling out more than it should. And we need some assistance with this. And so we've made the operator a lot more robust with how it handles those situations. So again, highly recommend getting those units up to at least firmware 1.0. And if you need help with that, of course, I'm sure Lewis and team can help. We can make sure we push those updates over to those units. So that is one thing. So we do have, overcurrent or overforce built into every single operator. That is standard. Again, just the way that that's being handled has been slightly improved over time. And then we have something even more exciting that we're developing and coming here in the next months that's we've been calling force sensing or something along those lines. And basically what that is it will learn and track the forces of your door and create profiles of how that's moving. And if things like a cable break occurs, right, that will of course fall out of the normal operating forces and range that this has learned over time, and it will send alerts and it will help you with monitoring your door beyond even what we offer today, right? You do have things like cable tension monitors you can use today. We have, again, the force being monitored still in the open and closed directions, as well as if it's stalled out, there is a 0 RPM sensor warning as well. So we do have a lot of those checks and safeties already in place. But again, this is just going beyond that, taking it to the next level. Again, that will be part of another firmware update. Again, most likely 6+ months out, but we are working on that, trying to develop that solution. So that is exciting. Again, another reason why we'd love to get all the units connected out there, because we'll continue to get these free updates and improvements to the product.
Excellent. Let's see. Covered the inputs on hardwired button controls. Those are available on the board. Okay, here's a couple new ones. Can you address emergency release on the side mount of a jack shaft?
I could probably take that one, Eric.
Sure.
So the question is if there's the emergency release on a side mount jack shaft. So with the new model of the RJDC, that's a release jack shaft operator, that will be a feature of that operator. So if there's something that you're looking for, I would highly encourage the new phase 2 operator, the RJDC, is probably what you're after to be able to get that emergency release. Now the old model that's been out in play for quite some time, the JDC, that one did come with battery backup for the emergency override type run when there was no power. But if the battery backup is not as important to you, then you can go to the RJDC, and you always still have the option of adding battery to it. So I guess to summarize it up again, the RJDC is what you're looking for, that it will have the emergency release on the jack shaft and the Maxum family line.
Very good. On the previous Maxum launch, the Logic 5 was planned to be discontinued, brought back again due to concerns and some market pressures. What's the status on the retirement of L5?
Yep, I can jump in here again. So yeah, there's no plans at this time to discontinue at a certain date. With the L5, we've seen that we're working on continuing to show people the benefits of Maxum and why people that have made that change, as Lewis said, they are appreciative and don't want to go back, right? There's still a few that we're converting. So L5 we know is near and dear to a lot of folks' hearts. We are keeping it around for the time being. There will be a big heads up when we again decide to remove those and go forward fully with Maxum. But yeah, it's a good question. For now, they are around, and again, there will be a big heads up when that time comes, many months in advance.
Very good. Edward asks, can this operator be direct driven or coupled directly to the shaft?
No, these cannot. They will have to be sprocket and chain connected as they have been thus far.
Very
That's
good.
another question on wireless safety eyes. We do have a wireless safety edge. It is the LMW We Kit U. That is the part number for it. We do have that available and supported for Maxum.
To be clear, that's an edge, not a safety eye. But yep, absolutely. If you got to go wireless,
yes.
you're ready to go. Yep. All right, that concludes the Q&A in the inbox anyways. Any other questions for Eric and Lewis?
All right. Well, I do appreciate everybody taking some time out of their day to learn about the new operators in the Maxum family line. Appreciate everybody being here and wish you a great rest of your day. Look for a follow-up communication from us that'll have some of these order guides and resources, as well as link to the webinar. So I wish everybody a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thanks all.
Thank you.